Most businesses treat their supply chain like a relay race, a sequence of departments handing off a baton. Procurement buys the materials, production builds the product, and logistics ships it. But treating a modern supply chain as a loose collection of isolated functions is mathematically flawed. To prevent systemic failure, modern supply chains have to be treated as a rigorous architectural discipline. They cannot be managed as just another localized operational task. On a traditional organizational chart, a supply chain is typically depicted as isolated nodes: a supplier, a manufacturing plant, and a distribution center. But the real complexity doesn't live inside those boxes. It lives in the empty spaces and connections between them. This points directly to an established axiom of the discipline. Value isn't exclusively created on the factory floor. It is preserved or completely destroyed at the exact interfaces between these operational stages. Governing those cross-organizational interfaces is the precise strategic requirement to keep the entire system from collapsing under its own weight. To understand why interface management is so difficult, we have to look closely at how a standard business function actually operates. A function exists to optimize a highly localized objective using the direct resources it controls. If we look at a comparison chart, a function has hard boundaries. It can negotiate better rates, but lacks authority to redesign the end-to-end system. This is where an academic discipline steps in. It serves as an overarching framework to design, govern, and continuously improve the entire system. A core part of that governance is explicit trade-off management. In any complex network, prioritizing one specific metric often directly damages another. Lowering inventory might hurt customer service, while increasing speed might spike transportation costs. Relying on a specialized, localized function to balance those competing metrics is mathematically impossible. A single department will always carry an inherent bias toward its own success. The allure of local efficiency is powerful. When you look at a highly optimized, automated manufacturing line running at top speed, it looks like success. Let's map a flowchart featuring 3 isolated departments: purchasing, production, and logistics. Purchasing lowers unit costs by buying raw materials in massive bulk. Production maximizes utilization, running machines at maximum capacity regardless of demand. Logistics minimizes transport spend by delaying shipments until every truck is completely full. When these localized successes collide, the result is disastrous, a global failure. Each department executed its specific job flawlessly, but without overarching governance, their local departmental excellence mathematically guaranteed a global supply chain failure. Resolving this friction requires stepping back and applying a specific set of architectural requirements to govern the entire cross-organizational flow without inherent bias. Governance relies on 3 horizontal layers: system thinking, cross-functional integration, and cross-company coordination. The 4th pillar is design before execution, building the physical tracks before scheduling the trains. The 5th is explicit trade-off management, an objective methodology balancing competing metrics so one department's savings don't destroy another's service levels. If a company lacks this overarching system design, merely asking the logistics team or the procurement team to execute their daily tasks harder or faster will never resolve the structural friction. In practice, a professional manages the system through 3 core responsibilities. First, system design, mapping the physical network's footprint and make or buy logic. Second, end-to-end orchestration, aligning demand with supply and dictating inventory positioning. Third, explicit trade-off decisions, calculating balancing acts like cost versus service and speed versus flexibility. Entrusting these vital architectural decisions to any single localized function introduces fatal operational bias, completely compromising the stability of the entire network. When a business misdiagnoses a systemic supply chain problem as a localized operational error, the physical consequences are severe. This specific symptom tree maps out exactly what that looks like: endless operational firefighting, conflicting internal performance metrics, and a situation where a company has massive amounts of inventory sitting in warehouses, but 0 actual product available for the customer. This creates a critical disconnect. The executive strategy formulated in the boardroom no longer matches the physical reality happening down on the warehouse floor. These issues are not the execution failures of employees missing their targets. They are the discipline failures of bad high-level architecture. Correcting this professional misconception requires a strict mental model. Functions answer the question, how do I do my job well? Supply chain answers the question, what job should each function do for the whole system to win? Executing that mandate requires a formal, rigorous body of knowledge. It relies on complex mathematical concepts like the bullwhip effect, risk pooling, and algorithmic network optimization. True optimization is only possible when an unbiased governing body actively manages the frictional interfaces between departments. Mastering modern business operations requires governing the architectural design of the entire system, rather than just managing the localized behavior of its isolated parts.